Admiral James Smith stood at the bridge of the HSS Vengeance, his weathered hands clasped behind his back as he gazed out at the vast expanse of space before him. The massive viewscreen showed thousands of alien warships arranged in perfect formation, the mighty Galactic Empire's 7th Fleet. They had come to crush humanity's last stronghold, just as they had done to countless other species across the galaxy. But today would be different. Today, humanity would show them why you should never corner a species that had spent its entire history perfecting the art of warfare. "Status report," James commanded, his voice steady despite the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. Earth's entire surviving fleet of 300 ships waited behind the orbit of Mars, hidden from the Empire's sensors by revolutionary stealth technology. "All ships report ready, Admiral," Lieutenant Tom Miller responded from his station. "Operation Thunderstrike is go on your command." James nodded slowly. The Empire had expected humanity to surrender when they first arrived 5 years ago, demanding Earth's complete submission to their rule. Instead, humanity had unified like never before, pooling all resources into developing technologies that could stand against the Empire's superior numbers. The Empire's arrogance would be their downfall. They believed their energy shields were impenetrable, their sensors unbeatable, and their weapons unstoppable. They had never faced a species that had spent millennia fighting amongst themselves, constantly innovating new ways to overcome defensive technologies. "Send the signal," James ordered. "Let's show them what humanity is capable of." Across the fleet, crews sprang into action. The Empire had never seen anything like the weapons humanity had developed. While the aliens relied on energy-based weapons and shields, human scientists had created something far more devastating: quantum tunneling missiles that could bypass shields entirely, and matter disruption beams that could tear apart ships at the atomic level. The Imperial fleet began moving forward, their massive dreadnoughts leading the charge. Their commander, Supreme Admiral Rix, was notorious for his brutality in crushing resistance. His message to Earth had been simple: surrender or face extinction. "Enemy fleet approaching weapons range," Tom reported. "They're charging their main weapons." James allowed himself a small smile. "Launch Operation Thunderstrike." In perfect synchronization, all 300 human ships decloaked and launched their first volley. Thousands of quantum tunneling missiles streaked across space, passing through the Empire's supposedly impenetrable shields as if they weren't there. The explosions that followed were spectacular. Entire sections of Imperial ships simply ceased to exist as the warheads detonated inside their hulls. The Empire's response was chaos. Their neat formations broke apart as ships tried to maneuver away from the unexpected attack. Their return fire was wild and inaccurate, energy beams shooting harmlessly into space. "Direct hits confirmed on 80% of targets," Tom announced, excitement creeping into his professional tone. Their shields were useless. James watched as the mighty Imperial fleet began to crumble. The aliens had never considered that a primitive species like humanity would develop weapons that completely ignored their advanced defensive technologies. Their arrogance had led them to believe that their way of warfare was the only way. "Second volley, fire at will," James commanded. "Target their command ships." Another wave of missiles launched, followed by the activation of the matter disruption beams. The beams, looking like threads of liquid lightning, connected with several Imperial vessels. The effects were immediate and horrifying. The targeted ships began to break apart at the molecular level, their very atoms being torn asunder. The Imperial fleet's response grew more desperate. Some ships began to retreat, while others launched suicidal charges at the human fleet. Neither tactic worked. The retreating ships were picked off by long-range missiles, while the charging vessels were torn apart by concentrated fire from multiple human ships. "Admiral," Tom called out, "we're receiving a transmission from Supreme Admiral Rix's flagship." "Put it through," James replied, standing straighter. The holographic image of Supreme Admiral Rix appeared on the bridge. The aliens' typically imperious demeanor was gone, replaced by barely contained fury and fear. "This is impossible," Rix snarled. "You're nothing but primitives. How dare you resist the mighty Empire?" James met the alien's gaze steadily. "You made a crucial mistake, Admiral. You assumed that because we weren't part of your grand empire, we must be primitive. You never bothered to learn about us, about our history, about how humanity has spent thousands of years perfecting the art of war against ourselves. Today, you learn the price of that arrogance. The Empire will not forget this." Rix threatened. "We will return with a force that will dash." The transmission cut off as a quantum tunneling missile found its mark. The Imperial flagship erupted in a spectacular explosion, taking Supreme Admiral Rix with it. "Enemy fleet is in full retreat," Tom reported. "Shall we pursue?" James shook his head. "No. Let them run. Let them tell the Empire what happened here. Let them spread the word that humanity is not to be trifled with." The battle was over in less than an hour. The mighty Seventh Fleet of the Galactic Empire, over 3,000 ships strong, had been reduced to scattered remnants fleeing in terror. Humanity had lost only 12 ships in the engagement. As James watched the surviving Imperial ships jump to faster-than-light travel, he knew this was just the beginning. The Empire would return, but humanity would be ready. They had spent their entire history preparing for this moment, even if they hadn't known it. "Send word to Earth," he ordered. "Tell them Operation Thunderstrike was a complete success. And tell them to begin preparation for Phase 2. The Empire needs to learn that humanity doesn't just defend, we strike back." The message was sent, and across Earth, citizens who had been watching the battle through their neural links erupted in celebration. Humanity had not just survived, they had proven themselves superior to the galaxy's greatest power. The age of human domination was about to begin. 2 weeks after humanity's stunning victory over the Empire's Seventh Fleet, the war room beneath Mount Everest buzzed with activity. Military leaders from across Earth gathered around a massive holographic display showing the known territory of the Galactic Empire. General Robert Wilson, Earth's Chief of Defense, stood at the center of the room. The old soldier's face was grim as he studied the latest intelligence reports from human stealth probes scattered throughout Imperial space. "The Empire is mobilizing everything they have," he announced to the assembled leaders. "Our victory has shocked them, but it's also made them desperate. They're pulling forces from every corner of their territory." Captain Lisa Moore, head of intelligence, stepped forward. Her dark eyes reflected the blue glow of the holographic display as she gestured to several blinking points on the map. "We've identified 3 major staging areas where they're gathering their fleets. Conservative estimates put their numbers at over 20,000 ships." A murmur of concern rippled through the room. Even with humanity's superior technology, those odds seemed impossible. "What they don't know," Robert continued, allowing himself a small smile, "is that this is exactly what we wanted them to do." The hologram shifted, showing a detailed scan of an Imperial world. It was Nexus Prime, the Empire's primary shipyard and manufacturing hub. With so many ships being moved to attack Earth, its defenses had been significantly weakened. "Operation Sword Strike begins now," Robert declared. "While they prepare to attack us, we'll strike at the heart of their military-industrial complex." The room's attention turned to Admiral James Smith, who had been quietly observing from the side. After his successful defense of Earth, he had been chosen to lead this crucial counterattack. "My fleet leaves in 6 hours, James stated. "We've upgraded all our ships with the new phase shift drives. The Empire won't even know we're coming until it's too late." The phase shift drive was humanity's latest breakthrough, a propulsion system that allowed ships to travel through subspace, completely undetectable by Imperial sensors. It was yet another example of how human innovation had leapfrogged over the Empire's stagnant technology. "What about the civilian population?" someone asked from the back of the room. "We've prepared for that," Lisa responded. "Our infiltration teams have already planted evacuation warning systems across Nexus Prime. 1 hour before the attack, every civilian will receive a message warning them to leave. We're not the Empire, we don't target innocents." The next few hours were a blur of activity as the human fleet prepared for departure. 500 ships, including the newly commissioned dreadnought HSS Retribution, gathered in high orbit. Each vessel was equipped with enough firepower to level a continent, but their real advantage lay in their ability to bypass Imperial defenses completely. James stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching as his crew made final preparations. The ship's AI, a quantum computer system far more advanced than anything the Empire possessed, reported all systems at optimal performance. "All ships report ready," Admiral, Lieutenant Tom Miller announced. He had requested a transfer to the Retribution after their previous victory, wanting to be part of the counterstrike. "Begin phase shift," James ordered. "Set course for Nexus Prime." The fleet vanished from normal space, slipping into subspace where they were completely undetectable. The journey would take 12 hours, plenty of time for the Empire to continue concentrating their forces for their planned attack on Earth, leaving their industrial heart vulnerable. During the journey, James reviewed the attack plan one final time. The first target would be the orbital shipyards, followed by the ground-based manufacturing facilities. The goal wasn't just to destroy the Empire's ability to build ships, it was to show them that nowhere in their territory was safe from humanity's reach. "Phase shift exit in 5 minutes, Tom announced as they approached Nexus Prime. "Civilian evacuation warnings have been transmitted." James watched the countdown timer tick away. This attack would change the nature of the war. The Empire would learn that humanity wouldn't just defend, they would strike back with devastating precision. The fleet emerged from phase shift directly above the orbital shipyards. The massive structures stretched for thousands of kilometers, normally building the Empire's warships. Now they would witness humanity's industrial might turn to destruction. "All ships, weapons free," James commanded. "Execute attack pattern Delta." The human fleet opened fire simultaneously. Quantum tunneling missiles pierced through the shipyard's shields, while matter disruption beams began tearing apart the massive structures at the molecular level. The few Imperial ships present tried to respond, but they were caught completely off guard. Below on Nexus Prime, chaos erupted as civilians fled the manufacturing districts. Imperial military forces scrambled to mount a defense, but they had never prepared for an attack of this magnitude on their supposedly secure core world. "Ground batteries attempting to target us," Tom reported. "Their targeting systems are unable to lock onto our phase-shifted ships." James nodded. "Launch the ground strike teams." Smaller craft departed from the human fleet, heading for the surface. These specialized units would ensure the complete destruction of the Empire's manufacturing capabilities. Their orders were clear: destroy the facilities but avoid civilian casualties at all costs. The battle, if it could even be called that, was completely one-sided. Within 2 hours, every shipyard was destroyed. The ground teams reported all major manufacturing centers neutralized. The Empire's ability to replace their ships had been crippled in a single, decisive strike. "Sir," Tom called out, "we're picking up Imperial reinforcements entering the system. Looks like they managed to recall some ships from their staging areas." "Mission accomplished," James declared. "All ships, prepare for phase shift. Let's head home." As the human fleet prepared to depart, James broadcast a message across all Imperial frequencies: "This was humanity's response to your aggression. We can strike anywhere, at any time. Remember this day, and remember that we chose to spare your civilian population, a courtesy you never extended to others. The next world we strike won't receive any warning." The fleet vanished into subspace, leaving behind a scene of devastation that would shake the Empire to its core. Their greatest shipyards, the heart of their military industry, had been destroyed in hours by an enemy they had dismissed as primitive just weeks ago. Back on Earth, the war room erupted in celebration as the mission reports came in. But General Robert Wilson remained serious. He knew this was just another step in what would be a long conflict. Begin preparation for Phase 3, he ordered. The Empire will be desperate now. Their next attack will be ruthless, and we'll be ready for them. The message was clear: humanity wasn't just fighting for survival anymore. They were fighting to reshape the galaxy itself. The Imperial Palace on Capital World trembled as Emperor Marcus slammed his fist onto the crystalline table, causing spiderweb cracks to spread across its surface. The emergency meeting of the Imperial High Command had brought nothing but bad news. Impossible, he roared, his face contorted with rage. How did these humans destroy our greatest shipyards? Where were our defenses? Our mighty fleets? High Commander Peter, recently promoted after the death of Supreme Admiral Rix, stepped forward. Unlike his predecessor, he had learned to respect humanity's capabilities. Your Majesty, the humans have developed technology that surpasses our own. They can move undetected through space and bypass our strongest shields. Our current defensive strategies are obsolete. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. For 10,000 years, the Empire had dominated the galaxy through superior technology and overwhelming numbers. Now, a species they had dismissed as primitive had not only defeated their greatest fleet but had struck at the heart of their industrial capacity. Then we will crush them with numbers, the Emperor declared. Gather every ship, every soldier. Strip our worlds of their defenses if necessary. I want Earth reduced to atoms. High Commander Peter hesitated. Your Majesty, that's exactly what they expect us to do. Our intelligence suggests they have more surprises waiting. Are you questioning my orders? The Emperor's voice was deadly quiet. No, Your Majesty. I will begin the mobilization immediately. As the High Commander left to carry out his orders, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were playing directly into humanity's hands. Meanwhile, on Earth, the war room beneath Mount Everest had been expanded. New sections monitored the movements of every Imperial ship, using advanced AI systems to predict their strategies. General Robert Wilson studied the latest reports with growing concern. They're stripping their outer worlds of defenses, he announced to his staff. The Emperor is committing everything to this attack. Captain Lisa Moore nodded grimly. Our predictions were accurate. They're gathering the largest fleet ever assembled in the Empire's history. Early estimates suggest over 50,000 ships. And that's exactly why Phase 3 will work, Robert replied. The Empire thinks quantity can overcome quality. They never learned the lesson that every human general knows: never commit all your forces to a single strategy. The holographic display showed the Empire's worlds in red, with their fleet movements tracked in real time. As their ships gathered for the massive assault on Earth, their outer worlds were left virtually defenseless. Launch Operation Freedom Ring, Robert ordered. It's time to show the Empire's subject worlds that their masters aren't as invincible as they claim. Across the galaxy, human stealth ships that had been hiding near Imperial-controlled worlds sprang into action. These weren't warships, they were carrying something far more dangerous to the Empire's rule: the truth. Using advanced quantum communication systems, they began broadcasting to every subjugated world in the Empire. The broadcasts showed the destruction of the Seventh Fleet, the devastating strike on Nexus Prime, and offered something the Empire's subjects hadn't dared dream of in millennia: freedom. People of the Galactic Empire, the message began, transmitted in every known language. For 10,000 years, you have lived under the boot of those who claim superiority through technology and numbers. Today, we have proven their technology can be defeated. Their numbers mean nothing. Humanity offers you a choice: continue serving masters who see you as property, or stand with us and claim your freedom. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Across thousands of worlds, populations that had been oppressed for generations rose up. Imperial garrisons, already weakened by the emperors. Massive mobilization, found themselves facing massive rebellions. Back on the HSS Retribution, Admiral James Smith received the reports with satisfaction. Phase 3 is proceeding exactly as planned, he told his crew. The Empire is about to learn another human military principle: never fight a war on multiple fronts. The Imperial response was predictable. Their massive fleet, gathered to attack Earth, now faced a dilemma. Either continue with their planned assault and lose control of their territory, or split their forces to deal with the rebellions. The Emperor is staying with his original plan, Lisa reported, reading the latest intelligence. He's ordering the fleet to continue towards Earth. He believes that if they destroy us, the rebellions will lose hope and collapse. Robert allowed himself a grim smile. Another mistake. Even if they somehow defeated us, those worlds have tasted freedom. They'll never go back to quiet submission. The next few days saw the Empire's territory erupt in chaos. Species that had been bitter enemies under Imperial rule now found common cause in fighting their oppressors. The Empire's complex supply lines, already strained by the loss of Nexus Prime, began to break down as rebel forces targeted their infrastructure. "Sir," a junior officer called out, "we're receiving messages from rebel leaders across Imperial space. They're requesting coordination with our forces." Robert nodded. This too had been part of the plan. Send them the encrypted combat protocols. Show them how to defeat Imperial shields, how to target their weak points. The Empire forced everyone to rely on their technology. Now that technology will be their downfall. The massive Imperial fleet continued its advance toward Earth, but now they were receiving constant reports of disasters from their home territories. Entire sectors were declaring independence. Imperial governors were surrendering to rebel forces or fleeing with whatever wealth they could grab. In the Imperial Palace, Emperor Marcus received the reports with increasing desperation. "Impossible, this cannot be happening, we are the Empire. We have ruled for 10,000 years. High Commander Peter watched his Emperor's breakdown with a mixture of pity and resignation. "Your Majesty, perhaps we should consider opening negotiations." "Never!" Marcus screamed. "We will reach Earth in 3 days. We will destroy their world, and then we will make examples of every rebel world until the galaxy remembers why they feared us." As the Imperial fleet approached their final jump point to Earth, James prepared his forces for the coming battle. But unlike the Empire's commanders, he knew this fight had already been won. The Empire had committed everything to this one attack, while humanity had played a longer, smarter game. "Send word to all rebel forces," he ordered. "The Empire's fleet will reach Earth in 3 days. Their worlds are virtually defenseless. Tell them, it's time for Phase 4. The message went out, and across the galaxy, newly freed worlds prepared for their own counterattack. The Empire had created its own worst nightmare, a galaxy united against them, armed with humanity's advanced technology and burning with 10,000 years of vengeance. The final battle for Earth was approaching, but it would not be the end of the war. It would be the beginning of a new galaxy, one where freedom would replace oppression, and where humanity would be remembered not just as warriors, but as liberators. The vast emptiness of space beyond Jupiter's orbit was about to become a battleground. Humanity's combined fleet of 800 ships waited in perfect formation, their advanced stealth systems making them invisible to the approaching Imperial Armada. Admiral James Smith stood on the bridge of the HSS Retribution, watching the tactical display as 50,000 Imperial warships emerged from faster-than-light travel. The sheer scale of the enemy fleet was breathtaking, it filled space as far as the sensors could detect. "All ships report ready," Lieutenant Tom Miller announced from his station. "Phase shift drives are charged and quantum weapons are hot." James nodded, his expression calm despite the overwhelming odds they faced. Send the signal to begin Operation Checkmate. Deep within the asteroid belt, hidden weapons platforms that had been placed there months ago powered up. On Mars, massive ground-based weapons systems emerged from underground bunkers. From Venus's toxic atmosphere, specially designed drone ships activated their engines. "Sir," Tom reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the Imperial flagship. They're demanding our immediate surrender." "Put it through," James ordered, straightening his uniform. The holographic image of Emperor Marcus appeared, his face twisted with arrogant triumph. "So, the mighty humans dare to face us. Your pathetic fleet will be crushed, and your world will burn for your insolence." James allowed himself a small smile. "Emperor Marcus, I'm giving you one chance to surrender. Your empire is in ruins, your worlds are in rebellion, and you've fallen into our final trap." The Emperor laughed, the sound harsh and mocking. "Trap? We have 50,000 ships. You have less than 1,000. What possible trap could you spring?" "The same trap that every empire throughout human history has fallen into," James replied calmly. "The belief that numbers alone win wars." Without warning, the hidden weapons platforms in the asteroid belt opened fire. Thousands of quantum-tunneling missiles streaked through space, passing through the Imperial fleet's shields as if they didn't exist. Entire squadrons of ships vanished in massive explosions. The Emperor's triumphant expression turned to shock. "What dash?" "You see," James continued, "while you were gathering your fleet, stripping your worlds of defenses, we were preparing this killing ground. Every piece of space debris larger than a meter in this sector has been replaced with a weapons platform. You've just parked your entire fleet in the middle of the largest minefield ever created." The Imperial fleet tried to react, but they were caught in a perfect crossfire. The weapons platforms attacked from all directions, while the drone ships launched from Venus's atmosphere struck from below. The Mars-based weapons provided devastating artillery support, their matter disruption beams cutting through multiple Imperial ships with each shot. "All ships, execute attack pattern Omega," James commanded. The human fleet split into smaller squadrons, each targeting specific sections of the Imperial formation. Their phase shift drives allowed them to appear and disappear at will, striking from impossible angles and vanishing before the Empire could respond. On his flagship, Emperor Marcus screamed orders in panic. "Launch all fighters. Return fire. Someone target those platforms." But the Empire's tactics were outdated, their responses predictable. They had spent 10,000 years fighting enemies who used the same technologies and strategies they did. Humanity had spent its history adapting, innovating, finding ways to defeat supposedly superior forces. "Your Majesty," High Commander Peter's voice was grim, "we're losing ships too fast. Our formations are breaking apart." The Emperor's response was cut off as a quantum-tunneling missile struck his flagship's bridge. The massive vessel exploded, taking the Emperor and his entire command staff with it. The loss of their leader sent the Imperial fleet into chaos. Some ships tried to retreat, others continued their advance toward Earth, while many simply stopped responding to commands. "Sir," Tom reported, excitement in his voice, "Rebel forces are emerging from faster-than-light travel behind the Imperial fleet. They're cutting off their retreat." James nodded in satisfaction. The rebel forces had been given just enough of humanity's technology to make them effective, and their arrival trapped the Imperial fleet in a devastating three-way crossfire. "General Wilson is reporting from Earth," Tom continued. "Phase 4 is complete. Over 60% of Imperial worlds have declared independence. Their remaining loyal forces are in full retreat across the galaxy." The battle continued for hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. The Empire's mighty fleet, gathered at such great cost, was being systematically destroyed. Their rigid tactics and outdated technology were no match for humanity's innovations and the rebels' determination. Enemy fleet is down to 12,000 ships, Tom announced. They're beginning to surrender in large numbers. James opened a channel to all Imperial vessels. Your Emperor is dead. Your Empire is fallen. Surrender now, and you will be treated according to human laws of war. Continue fighting, and you will be destroyed. The response was immediate. Thousands of Imperial ships powered down their weapons, while others activated their faster-than-light drives in desperate attempt to escape. Only a hardcore group of about 3,000 ships continued fighting. Target the remaining hostile vessels, James ordered. Show them no mercy. The human fleet and their rebel allies concentrated their fire on the die-hard Imperial ships. Within minutes, they were reduced to drifting debris, a testament to the futility of their resistance. As the surrender signals continued to pour in, James received a private message from General Robert Wilson. Congratulations, Admiral. The operation was a complete success. But we have reports of Imperial holdouts fortifying positions on several core worlds. They're threatening to use planet-killer weapons if we don't allow them to maintain control. James's expression hardened. Then it's time for the final phase. Send in the infiltration teams. Show them that nowhere in their former empire is safe from us. The battle for Earth was over, but the war would continue until the last remnants of the empire were rooted out. Humanity had not just defended itself, it had changed the galaxy forever. The age of imperial dominion was ending, and a new era of freedom was beginning. As James watched the surrender proceedings, he reflected on how far humanity had come. From a single world threatened with extinction, they had risen to become the galaxy's liberators. But with that power came responsibility, the responsibility to ensure that no empire would ever again threaten the freedom of sentient beings. Send word to Earth, he ordered. Tell them to prepare for the next phase. We have a galaxy to rebuild. 6 months after the decisive Battle of Jupiter, the Great Hall of the former Imperial Palace on Capital World hosted a very different kind of gathering. Representatives from over 10,000 formerly enslaved worlds filled the massive chamber, their varied forms a testament to the diversity the Empire had tried to suppress. Admiral James Smith, now serving as Earth's representative to the newly formed Galactic Council, stood at the podium where Emperor Marcus had once issued his imperial decrees. The irony wasn't lost on him. The last Imperial holdout fell yesterday, he announced to the assembled delegates. The fortress world of Bastion has surrendered. The Empire, which claimed it would rule for another 10,000 years, is officially no more. A thunderous cheer filled the hall. Species that had once been bitter enemies under Imperial rule now celebrated together, united by their shared freedom. General Robert Wilson, watching from the side, leaned over to Captain Lisa Moore. Did you ever think we'd see something like this when we first detected their ships approaching Earth? Lisa shook her head, smiling. Back then, we were just hoping to survive. Now look at us, architects of a new galactic order. The celebration was interrupted by urgent news from the outer sectors. Lieutenant Tom Miller, now commanding his own ship, appeared via hologram. Admiral, General, he reported, we've discovered something in the Imperial archives. The Empire wasn't just oppressing worlds, they were hiding something. Something they found at the edge of the galaxy that terrified them enough to build their empire as a defense. James exchanged glances with Robert. This explained something that had bothered them, why an empire would maintain such a massive military force when they'd already conquered everything in reach. The Empire's response to this threat was to enslave the galaxy, forcing unity through tyranny, Tom continued. But we have a chance to do something different. To face whatever's out there as free worlds, standing together by choice. James turned back to the assembled delegates. Representatives of the free worlds, we have a choice to make. We can either return to our own worlds, focus on rebuilding, and ignore what might be coming. Or we can work together, combining our strengths, our technologies, our determination. The hall fell silent as he continued. Humanity didn't defeat the Empire through superior numbers or even just superior technology. We won because we understood something they didn't, that true strength comes from innovation, adaptation, and most importantly, fighting for something worth believing in. A delegate from one of the formerly enslaved worlds stood up. The Empire claimed they were protecting us, but they only protected their own power. How do we know humanity won't do the same? Because we're giving you a choice, James replied. Every world here is free to leave, to govern itself, to choose its own path. But we're also offering you a partnership. Humanity's innovation combined with your knowledge and strengths. Not an empire, but an alliance of free worlds. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some delegates were eager to join forces with the humans who had liberated them, while others were more cautious, wounds from 10,000 years of imperial rule still fresh. Robert stepped forward to stand beside James. We don't ask for your trust, we ask for a chance to earn it. The Empire faced whatever they found out there with fear, building walls of oppression. We propose to face it with hope, building bridges between our worlds. Over the next few hours, a new framework was formed. The Galactic Alliance would be founded on principles of mutual defense and cooperation, with each member world maintaining its sovereignty. Humanity would share its technological innovations, while other worlds would contribute their own unique knowledge and capabilities. There's something else you should know, Lisa announced, taking the podium. Our deep space sensors have detected unusual activity at the galaxy's edge. Whatever the Empire was afraid of, it's moving. Instead of fear, the announcement was met with determination. These were peoples who had thrown off the chains of an empire that had claimed to be invincible. They had seen humanity prove that superior numbers and technology meant nothing without the will to use them properly. Let them come, James declared. This time, they won't face an empire built on fear and oppression. They'll face free worlds, standing together by choice, armed with humanity's innovations and our combined determination. The Galactic Alliance was formally established that day. Research teams combining human scientists with experts from other worlds began working on new technologies. Exploration fleets were launched to the galaxy's edge, not to build walls, but to understand what was coming. As James looked out over the celebrating delegates, he reflected on how far they'd come. Humanity had faced extinction and instead sparked a revolution that freed the galaxy. Now they faced an unknown threat, but they would face it on their terms. Send word to Earth, he told Lisa. Tell them to begin preparation for deep space expansion. If something's coming from beyond the galaxy, we're not going to wait for it to reach us. The message was sent, and across Earth, humanity began its next great adventure. They had proven themselves against the greatest empire the galaxy had ever known. Now they would lead the charge into unknown space, not as conquerors like the Empire, but as explorers and defenders of freedom. In the depths of space, aboard the HSS Retribution, Tom watched the sensor readings from the galaxy's edge. Whatever was out there had scared an empire into 10,000 years of tyranny. But humanity had learned long ago that the best defense wasn't walls or chains, it was innovation, adaptation, and the unbreakable spirit of free people standing together. The empire had fallen, and from its ashes, something new had risen. Not an empire of fear, but an alliance of hope. And if anything out there thought to test this new alliance, they would learn the same lesson the empire had learned. Never underestimate humanity's ability to face impossible odds and emerge victorious.